Hi, great that you're watching this virtual tour for free tours by foot. My name is Tim, one of the tour guides of Free Walking Tour Amsterdam, and today I'm going to show you my great city Amsterdam. It's a tip-based tour, like all the tip-based tours are, so there's a link in the description. If you want to tip me, I'll be very thankful for that. But more important, come to Amsterdam as soon as possible and I'll give you the tour myself personally. So we're going to start the tour from here. We're going to walk and bicycle. We're going to the new church, the canal area, the canal houses I'm going to show you. We go to the Anne Frank house, to the Waag house on the New Markt, and finally to the Central station at the north side of the city center. So great that you're watching. Stay tuned and I'll show you everything of Amsterdam from a local perspective. This is the starting point of the city and also the starting point from the tour. We're here on the Dam Square, the central point of Amsterdam. It started at this place around the year 1200, so the city, it's about 800 years old. And this is the central place. They made a dam in the river Amstel, so that's also where the city got its name from, Amsterdam, the dam on the river Amstel. That river started on that side, I don't know if you can see it, where the cars come from, and this is the Dam Square, and that went on the other side where you have the ocean. Amsterdam was a harbor city. I'll tell you more about that later on in the tour. So come and join me. I'll show you. Let's go to the next stop, the other side of this square, where I'm going to tell you a little bit more of the Dam Square. So on the central square of Amsterdam, you have our beautiful royal palace. It's actually the royal palace today, but it wasn't always like that. Before Napoleon came and made it his palace, it was our town hall. So originally it was built as our town hall in the Golden Age in the 17th century. But later Napoleon took over and he made it the royal palace, and from that day the royal family took it over. It's a museum these days. I would recommend to have a look inside there. It's a really impressive building. Next to the town hall you have our church. It's called the New Church. It's only called the New Church because it's a little bit younger as the old church, and there's a special story about this, which will be the next one. So here we are standing on the other side of the town hall. You can see the impressive town hall here on the back with Atlas standing on the top. So this was the idea of the mayors from the 17th century, Amsterdam as the central part of the world. But when those mayors wanted to build this big town hall, they had a problem with the church. Because as you can see on this side, you see the new church, and the priest in that day said the house of God should be the biggest house in town and we're not going to change it. But the mayors really wanted their town hall, so they had a long debate with the church, but finally they had a solution. They said, we're going to make this town hall, and with the money that comes from the project, we're going to make you a church tower. And not just any church tower, no, it's going to be the biggest one from the country. The biggest one was and still is in Utrecht, and they wanted to have always the biggest and best here in Amsterdam. So they started to work on the tower. You can still see it, those two pictures. That's the same stone as the town hall is. That's the start of the tower. They also closed the windows with bricks to give the wall some extra strength. But then they ran out of money and they said, yeah, we'll fix it next year. And then next year they said, we'll do it next year and next year and next year. So maybe next year when you come do a tour with us, you will see the biggest church tower from the country, but it's not very, very likely. Now, why is this an important story about Amsterdam? Amsterdam is a very liberal city, and in Amsterdam it was possible to make a bigger building than the House of God. That was unseen in religious Europe in the 17th century. So this story tells you a lot about Amsterdam. So here we are in the canal area from Amsterdam, the grachtengordel, as we call it in Dutch, no joke. And here you have all the beautiful canal houses that Amsterdam is so famous for. And when you have a good look at the houses, especially the one here on the first, they have the hooks on top of the houses. And that's because originally they're all storage houses. The goods came from all over the world, mostly from Asia. Indonesia was a Dutch colony in the day, and the spices, they came to Amsterdam, and from Amsterdam they were spread out over Europe. The spices came in, but those spices, they were super expensive. Peperduur, as you say it in Dutch, pepper expensive. To give you an idea of the pepper price from the 17th century, it's more or less the same as cocaine today. So then I think you have an idea of how expensive pepper was in the day. But why did you put it in a storage house like this? Well, what happens if a big ship full of pepper enters the port from Amsterdam? Pepper would become available everywhere, the price would drop down, and that's something you don't want after such a risky, expensive journey. So what do? You store it in these houses and you wait for a good price to sell your pepper. And that's why Amsterdam is full of these storage houses. Now, as you can see, the houses, they're all quite slim. That's because of tax reasons. The wider your house was, the more tax you had to pay. So it was smart to make your house as small as possible. A very smart man in this way was the guy on the red house there. It's one of the smallest houses from Amsterdam. It's only a front door, but people are really living there, a couple and a dog. And that guy didn't have to pay a lot of tax back in the day. Today the tax rules are a little bit different, but it's still a very funny way that you can see this house is so small. So let's go bike around Amsterdam. One of the things I would recommend when you come to Amsterdam is renting a bike or take a bike tour, because it's a very lovely city, biking city #1 in the world. So you have to bike when you're in Amsterdam, especially along these canals. Biking is very lovely. So I'll take you on the bike right now. The coffee shop. Yeah. So it really looks. So here we are biking on the Prinsgracht, where you can see the lovely canal houses, but also the Prinsgracht is famous for the houseboats that we have here. We'll make a stop on the bridge here. Where you can see the houseboats of Amsterdam. They used to be the cheap way of living, but today they're the more expensive way of living in Amsterdam, because you don't have neighbors, which is very popular these days, especially on Airbnb. They came in after the Second World War, when there was a big housing crisis here in town, but as said, today they're very popular. Now, if you look behind you, you see the beautiful church tower of the Western Church. It's an iconic tower for Amsterdam, and it's also very special because Anne Frank wrote about it in her diary, and the Anne Frank house is also next to the church tower. So when you come to Amsterdam, you're probably gonna visit also the Anne Frank house. It's a very special story about a girl writing a diary in the Second World War. So here we are again standing at a church. This is a different one, the old church, the oldest building from Amsterdam. There has always been a church at this place. Old church is again in the city center of Amsterdam. A very special place because it's the red light district. As Amsterdam was always a sailor city, we have also had women working for the sailors in the red light area. Now, at the day, these guys, they made long journeys over the oceans. They made a lot of money on the journey, but when they came back to Amsterdam, they didn't see any women for months. So with the money they just made, they went into the red light district. Now, not a lot has changed. It's still a little bit these days. Today it's also quite a touristy area. I would recommend to go there. It's a safe area to walk around at night. Be aware of pickpocketers, as in any city, but it's definitely worth seeing the red light district. So behind me you have this iconic building on the Newmarket Square. This building was originally the city gate from Amsterdam, one of the gates, I must say. It had a lot of functions afterwards, but for the longest period it was a wait house, and that's why it's called de Waag. I don't know if you can read it, but the Waag, it's Old Dutch for the wait house. It's more or less like a tax office. So it's not only a friendly place, also judgment was done here. They would hang the people outside if they didn't obey the law. And if you have such a dead body, you're not just going to throw it away, but you can operate it to discover how the body was working from the inside. It's what they did a lot in the 17th century. There's a famous painting from Rembrandt. It's the Autonomy Lesson, and it's made here in the wait house on top of that. A funny detail about it is that they only did it in winter, because in summer a body would get really hot, and a hot body in summer is also a very smelly body. So that's what they did in the wait house. It's a restaurant these days. I would recommend to go for a coffee and also have a look inside the wait house when you come and visit Amsterdam. Now this square has a lot of stories on it. If you see the beautiful Canal Houses on that side, you think it's beautiful old Amsterdam. But when you look on the other side of the square, you see the whole street in that road. It's quite new, and also this beautiful yellow concrete that you see here. It's very modern for old Amsterdam. Now, how come we have such a beautiful concrete block in the middle of the old city? It's unfortunately because of the Second World War. Now, Amsterdam in general was not bombed so heavily, but this street, this neighborhood behind, was the Jewish area, and the Jewish area became an empty ghost town at the end of the Second World War. Now, it was the last winter, 44-45, which was a really cold winter, and in this cold winter people were plundering the empty houses from all the wood that was in there. Not only the furniture, also the door, the windows, the stairs, every piece of wood was taken from the houses. So after the war, this whole neighborhood was a lot of rubble, but no houses anymore. No one was owning it. So they emptied the whole street. They made a metro line underneath, but all the houses were demolished. And now we have this beautiful concrete that you can see today. Very sad story for a very beautiful area from Amsterdam. So of course we cannot forget the coffee shops, something also a lot of people come for to Amsterdam, like the one behind me here. Amsterdam is very famous for it. We used to have a unique situation, but now in countries as the US, Canada and also Uruguay, it's also legal to smoke the marijuana. Now, how is it with the coffee shops? It's legal to smoke it, but is it really legal? Well, it's actually gedoogd, a beautiful Dutch word. It's a little bit like turning a blind eye. It's allowed to do it, but officially it's all illegal. Now, although that's so, the coffee shops are allowed to sell you 5 grams of marijuana a person. So you're also allowed to carry on you 5 grams. You can mostly smoke it in 3 ways. One is a pre-rolled joint, you can just smoke it right away. And if you can roll a joint, you can buy the marijuana or the hash yourself, then make your own joint and smoke it. And the third and last one is the space cakes. This is for the non-smokers. You eat the marijuana and then you get high, but when you eat it, it takes about 45 minutes before you get stoned. It's very different from the smoking, which after 5 or 10 minutes you already know you smoke marijuana. And not everybody knows this or believes it, so sometimes people, they eat it, they wait 10 minutes and they say, yeah, nothing's happening. And they take another one and another one and another one, and they have a very, very bad afternoon. So be careful with that. When you go smoke it, go inside, ask for advice behind the counter. They know everything about it. And then do enjoy a good joint here in Amsterdam. So when you come to Amsterdam, it's a must to rent a bicycle and to just bike around. It's lovely to do. You can see all the beautiful canal houses. And as well, there are everywhere these bike lanes. Well, not everywhere in the city center, but in most of town you have a lot of bike lanes. So you're not driving together next to the cars. So a bike tour or just renting a bike is a must when visiting Amsterdam. So this was also more or less my tour. Come to visit our beautiful city when you can and enjoy the lovely Amsterdam. So here we're a little bit more or less driving outside of the city, of the old city center. We're now going to the edge. There's the railway station. And again, Amsterdam was a sailor city, so it's located on the water. Today there are buildings everywhere, but in the old days the boats were hanging around here. So we just were driving outside of Old Town to the water edge. On the other side I live myself, in the north side of Amsterdam. But in the old days this was open ocean, and the big ships that came from all over the world would bring their goods here to this water side, to the harbor from Amsterdam. Amsterdam is actually still the fourth harbor from Europe. The biggest one is Rotterdam, then Antwerp, Hamburg, and then Amsterdam. So again, as you see, bike lanes everywhere. And the must, when you must drive a bicycle when you come to visit Amsterdam. Ja. Okay. So as we're driving now by boat from the old side of town to the north side. North side is where I live. So when you come to Amsterdam, you probably arrive by train behind me, and then from there you walk into the old town. This water that you can see behind me, the big ships came from all over the world and they brought their spices to Amsterdam at this lake. And from here they would bring the goods into the canals of Amsterdam. So it's really a harbor city. But you'll discover more about it when you come to visit our tour at Free Walking Tours Amsterdam. Come as soon as possible when everything's over. So hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.